welcome to another episode of
Scrutiny with Cheri and Andy.
I'm Andy Vargo, and this is my bestie,
Cheri Hardman. We decided to do something.
Yeah?
Andy Vargo and I will do anything for attention.
Yes, we will.
I'll tell you what I did. My nails, my hair, and my nails, my hair.
You gotta give yourself credit for all the things you do.
I'll tell you what I did earlier, later.
Now I don't know when it'll happen.
Earlier. And we're here to discuss my nails, my hair, and
Being the best at no matter what it is that you're doing. Now I don't know when it'll happen. But it is good to see you, Cheri. What's going on in your world?
Well, I need a haircut. We already discussed that before the cameras came on.
Because as you can see, Cheri's hair is getting long.
It really is long.
I was talking to someone the other day and they had their hair. You know how you'll be talking to especially a woman and they'll have their hair like halfway covering their eye? Like yours is kind of starting to get in your eye. That would just drive me crazy. I don't know if that. I just wonder how people can have haircuts like that.
Well, it is usually when your hair needs to be cut.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, but haven't you seen people where it's like always kind of like that? Like, I think it can
Well,
look
then
good.
you only have to put the eye makeup on one eyebrow.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I see. So like if you're running out of mascara.
So like if I'm in a hurry, I make sure this eyebrow looks really good, and then this one I just go.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a skill. There's a little life hack for you.
Grow your hair over your whole face. You don't have to wear any makeup at all.
Oh my God, there was this gal getting out of a car today, and she had long, beautiful hair, but when she was getting out of the car, she was walking towards me, but looking back the other way. So it was like an ear and then hair. And I thought, what is that? Like, what's going on with that person's face? Like, because they just look like this big thing hair. And then she turned, like, oh, she was walking this way, but turned that way. So it looked like this hair. And then when I looked closer, I was like, oh, actually, her hair is really cool. It just happens to be the way that she was facing it made it look like just interesting. But
Got it.
excuse me, I just had a little nappy poo because it's been a long day already. And so apparently I'm still waking up.
Yeah, this morning, I took Andrew out, the bus driver came. She took him out, and then I'm gathering up my last, I turn the TV off and stuff, and then I go out right behind him. Well, in that moment, my phone rang, and it was the bus. It was Access canceling his bus, but he's on his bus already. Yeah. So I went out and said to the bus driver, like, I just got a call saying that this was canceled. And so she looked into it. So anyway, yeah, the day program.
Well, at least they didn't get too far away. I was picturing being like halfway down the road and rerouting.
Yeah, so he was still in the driveway, and so was I. So we were able to go in easily. But then I forgot to call in work because call in work, if I'm not going to be there, I call in much earlier than that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so I was already in that mode of going to work, and then I realized at about, I don't know, noon or something, like, oh, oop.
Oh, crap.
So I just called work, and they were able to put it in for me.
Oh, that's good.
So that was no big deal. But yeah, I just kind of threw my morning off. I sat down to watch TV, and I had Roxy right here, and then I just woke up like 3 hours later. Like I passed out.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
That dog, there's something about sleeping with her in a chair that is so hypnotizing. I don't know what it is. She's got special nap powers.
She's a nap dog. There's lap dogs and then there's nap dogs.
Really is.
Huh.
But since we're talking about that, I was watching TV. We're trying to start that new thing. What's the best thing you watched and the best thing you ate?
Yeah.
So the best thing that I've watched is on Netflix. It's called Beef.
Okay.
And it's got Ali Wong in it. And it's a little series. I don't know if it's gonna continue or if it was just like a one-time series thing. I don't see how they would go on with it, but you never know. It's just a very interesting, and you know how I complain like about shows like what's that one with the teacher that had the meth lab?
I don't know.
Breaking Bad. That's
Oh, yeah, I
like
never
we
watched
watched
that.
it. I'm just like everybody's just so horrible.
Oh, right, that you don't
You
like
don't
any of the
want,
characters?
and this show's the same way in that everybody in the show's pretty horrible.
Yeah, that's kind of how Ozark was when I watched that. Like, there's just a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
crappy
that too.
characters. I think we talked about it with that show.
But in this particular case, I really I only have the last episode left, but it's really
Okay.
been entertaining. And when I've been watching it, I've been watching it alone, thinking the whole time Dave would not like this
Hmm.
because of the heinous characters
Yeah.
in it. But it's pretty interesting, and I've seen a lot of other people posting about it. It's pretty good, and she's really good in it. And she's becoming one of my favorite celebrities because not only is her stand up hilarious, she's very good in this, and she kind of has like a, I don't want to say, uh, she's not like a real rosy person. She's not all flowers and rainbows. She's kind of a dark person, you know. So it really
Yeah.
fits her. But if you watch her stand up, she's really likable in this show. She's not likable, but she's riveting and you want to watch her. So I would highly recommend that for people.
Beef, huh?
Uh-huh. Have you watched anything lately?
You know what? I actually haven't watched any TV since our last week. Well, I don't know. I haven't watched anything in the last week, like since I got back from the ocean. I'm trying to think if I actually I was gonna watch a movie the other day, and then I had this hankering to watch Hook. You know, the old Peter Pan, Robin Williams. There's just so many good quotes from that movie, and I was talking to a friend, and something came out, and we started quoting that movie, and I was like, I want to go watch that movie now, but then it wasn't on any of the services, and I wasn't willing to pay the $5 to watch it and then fall asleep starting it. So I just was like, yeah, I know what happens. But I did watch an interesting. I met this gentleman at one of the local networking events who was saying that he had done about just 10 episodes of little YouTube videos that are called Rated T, like for Tacoma. And on each episode, they talk about movies that have a tie to Tacoma. And so I went on and I watched a couple of those, and they were pretty fun. But I want to watch the rest of them, but I don't want to watch them till I go watch the movie that they
Right.
talked about in each one, because I want to watch it with their commentary fresh in mind. But the
Right.
first two I watched, they were talking about Dune, because the author of the book is from Tacoma, Frank Herbert, and so it has that tie. And I think that this one was recorded a couple years ago, because now there's two Dune movies. So they were talking about the original in 1984, I think it was 1980s. And then I watched their next episode, which was, he has a different guest on each time. The next episode, he was talking about Three Fugitives, which was filmed in Tacoma, set in Tacoma. And it's just kind of fun to see things like the Spanish Steps with the SWAT team running down to stop from the bank robbery, because they're using the old clock tower building, the old city hall is the bank in the movie. And so it was interesting to get their take on it. And I watched that movie when it came out, probably in the 90s, whenever that was. And uh, so I thought, oh, I should go rewatch that movie. But I haven't watched either of those two yet, but I'm enjoying it's kind of fun to watch movies that have a tie to where you're at in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Uh, did you eat anything good this week?
Okay, so the most delicious thing I ate this week, I had to reflect on that, because I've had some, had some restaurant food. I've done some things, but the thing that stands out is just good old homemade tacos. And as you know, I went to the ocean with Steve last week. I was so like honored to be invited into someone's space, and like, this is their vacation. They let me come crash it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And and it stormed and rained, which we knew was going to happen. So we hung out pretty much inside and um, played games and did all that kind of stuff and just visited and stuff. But one of the days, Chris made like the full taco spread, and it's like chips if you want to make nachos, shredded cheese, melted, like cheese,
Salt.
like the
Yep.
sauce, chicken and beef and beans and onions and salsa, guacamole, olives. Like, it's like when you make stuff like that, like at least when I make stuff like that at home for one, I don't get all the options because it's just wasteful for
Hmm.
one person. I have to, or I'll be eating it for 10 weeks, or I'm deciding what to
Right.
feed. So it's really just kind of like, that was just so delicious. And I was sitting there going, I'm not even hungry, but I'm gonna go get seconds. We ate so much that whole week. There was a great little donut shop right in town. We were down at Westport, and it was a great time. But that would be the food I'm most excited about right now.
I want to give shout outs to do two different things. We had one night we had Chinese food that we just ordered Uber Eats from Magic Walk,
Okay.
but there were three standouts on the menu, and we decided next time we go, we're just going to order those three things.
Mm,
It was the wonton soup,
okay.
the fried rice, and the sweet and sour chicken. Were all really delicious.
Gotcha.
But the other thing I want to give a shout out to is something that I think is underappreciated, and that is a Jack in the Box egg roll. I don't know if you ever had a Jack in the Box egg roll. They are so good,
I have had a Jack in
especially
the Box egg roll.
you have.
Yes, they're good.
I think they're good, and now you know how they used to be small, but now they're big.
I don't know. I haven't actually had any Jack in the Box in a very long time. So
Yeah, well, it's right by the bank here, so every time I go
yeah,
through
it's the
the bank,
close one.
it's
Yeah.
right there, and they have big egg rolls now, and with their sweet and sour sauce, they're actually really good. They're
Wow.
delicious.
They
So,
got the recipe right. Way to go, Jack.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good shout out. I'm getting really, I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff on the calendar I'm getting excited for. Do you have a show tonight?
I do at O'Looney's Irish Pub in Gig Harbor,
Yay.
which I don't know if you remember, but I love an Irish pub because they have a shepherd's pie, which I enjoy. So I
Nice.
might be getting some of that tonight.
Awesome. Well,
But yeah, it's a show. It's a comedy show. Starts at 7. I'm excited. I haven't performed in Gig Harbor in like, I don't know, since I was a year or two in. So it's been a
okay.
fun.
Well, they got something coming over the bridge there. They're gonna be excited. That's
Yeah.
gonna be fun. Do you have anything else coming up this weekend? Do you want to make sure we know?
Tomorrow night, the disabled list, Northwest Film Forum. I think that one's also at 7 o'clock. It's always a good time. I wish those shows. Well, they are gathering steam. I was going to say I wish they were sold out every time because it's a really interesting cultural experience for people. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It's not like, oh, let's go watch the handicapped people and write a report about it. No, it's like funny. So
Yeah. No, that's good. And they have written reports about it because it has been funny.
they had.
Yeah. That's
True.
cool. Very cool. That's exciting. I was sitting here thinking today. So this morning I got up out the door. My weeks have really been filled lately with so many really good conversations and connections. And like this morning I got up, got out the door, and I went to this local networking event that's called Coffee with Co-Founders. It's all people who are entrepreneurs, startups, put on by a group in Tacoma called Startup 253, and then Washington Maritime Blue. Also, they co-sponsor these events, and it's just a nice group of solid people. But I did that. Then I went and I had a chiropractor appointment, and then I went to meet with my friend Nital, who is someone I met through this group. Actually, we were both there this morning, but didn't actually talk while we were there, knowing we were going to meet later. And then I got home and I was just wiped because there was just so much going, and I did a couple emails on the go, but I was like, wow, this is my life. This is just fun. Like I'm seeing people who are becoming friends, and friends are becoming partners in different ways, and it's just cool. But it's also exhausting. So I sat down and just passed out. But one of the things that's really exciting next, I guess it's in 2 weeks. I was invited to host or to be the MC for the Impactathon that they're putting on at it's going to be at the Center for Urban Waters in Tacoma, which Startup 253 and Maritime Blue, I think it's Maritime Blue is actually hosting it. They're hosting it maybe together, but Impactathon is this thing where people have a chance to come together. There'll be 3 different little impact sessions, which are almost like mini TED Talks, and then everybody in the audience will be put together into groups, and they'll have a chance to practice giving a pitch for an idea, and then there'll be a winner, and there's I think it's like $1,000 in prizes for the winning team, and then I'm going to MC that contest part of it. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm getting more things like mapped out to where I'm having to now sit down and go, okay, what's coming up down the road? And I met another awesome speaker here in the area earlier this week, via Zoom, and we're gonna get together. And he said, well, how about May 12th? And I'm thinking, May is so far away. And I'm like, oh shit, that is not that far away. So there's so much stuff. It's exciting.
I know. I talked to my mom yesterday, and she was saying like, oh, she has some friends that wanted to come see me do comedy, and when's a good time for that? And I told her that I would be in Gig Harbor tonight. I go, but really, what I really want you to show up is when I'm headlining the Tacoma Comedy Club thing.
Yeah.
And she said, when is that? And I said, June 18th. And she's like, oh, June. I'm like, Mom, it's going to be here before you know it.
Right.
It goes by so fast. She's like, well, that's true. So.
Yeah, that's like 8 weeks away.
Yeah. A week goes by fast.
It does. It does.
Except when you're at work.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like I recorded 2 podcast episodes this week. I have them, like the next person that I schedule, their episode will come out at the end of May, essentially. So I think the one that I just scheduled somebody, and so theirs will probably come out the 1st of June. And so it's just crazy that that's what's popping up on the calendar. It feels good to be that far ahead, because I've been really diligent about the day that I have the podcast that I get the editing done. So it's just done. It's on the calendar. Then the day of release, all I have to do is hit, share and make sure people know that it's out there, but it's already online. Like by the time I wake up, I have a little thing saying your episode went live, and I'm like, sweet, that's how it's supposed to work.
Cool.
But the one thing I look forward to is the next step, where I actually have someone doing some of this work for me, so I can focus on the big things. Because anybody with the skill set to be producing or publishing could be doing that for me, and I could be out having conversations about selling my skills or partnering for opportunities. So that is, or writing more books or whatever it is, or being a guest on other people's shows, which, tomorrow, I almost forgot, tomorrow on Friday, I am going to be the guest for GoMobi. It's GOMOBI. On LinkedIn, there's a link, and it is for having coaching conversations. And so we're going to be talking about how to activate the superpowers on your team. And we'll be having this conversation about how do you engage your employees, how do you engage your team, and how do you coach them to realize that their insecurities actually are a superpower. So that's an honor.
Yeah, that sounds like interesting fun. I just found out that I have a hole in my underwear, so there's that.
Well, that can be earth-shattering on the right day. I am down to my last pair of underwear. I'm gonna have to decide, am I gonna go shopping for a new pack of underwear today, or am I gonna do some laundry tonight?
I have these really great underwear, but they're like $28 a pair. So What
Mhm.
I just try to do is just buy one or two every now and then, and just try to build them up that way. 'Cause I can't just go buy like a pack of underwear like you or Dave can, you
Yeah.
know.
You know what I was doing for a while, and I might get back to it, is I buy a new pack every time I have a new speaking gig, so I can go
Really.
big gig in my new underwear and just feel fancy.
Uh-huh. Well, that's cool. That's a good way to treat yourself, you know.
Yeah, but, or, like, if I buy a pack, I'll leave one pair, brand new until I have the gig, an upcoming gig. So, a pack might get me too, but, I haven't always done that, but it kinda worked out on accident one time, and I thought, "Oh, I should do this," so I did it a couple times. Uh,
That's
then it's
cool.
then it's just I wonder if anybody in the audience knows, "That guy's in brand new underwear." Like, what is he thinking about while he's talking to all of us?
Well, at least he's prepared if he gets in an accident on the way home. Have
Right?
you Zoom is very different now.
Is it?
Like it just redid a bunch, and so now over on the right-hand side, there's all these icons. Do you
Oh,
have
is that a Zoom thing? Okay, I saw all those pop up, and I just thought that was something on my computer. I've noticed that before.
got
Oh,
like AI note taker and Kahoot?
oh, that's handy. I might have to use that.
So yeah, I haven't really looked into any of these, but
And the thing is, oh, they have Kahoot on here too. I never read the updates when they say, "Oh, this is changing on," you get the emails like, "Now you can this and now you can that." And I'm just like, "Now you can stop sending me all these updates because I'm not reading them." But
it's hard to just constantly be learning stuff. And we're
yeah.
constantly learning stuff just,
Hmm.
part of what we do is learning how to use new technologies
Yeah.
and different things. And so then, you look and there's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 little icons over there. And it's like, oh, good God, I got to learn all that,
Yeah. Well, and the
But,
thing that I have, so I just have been listening to uh, this set of CDs that my other friend Cheri gave me about speaking, and it's called "Create Your Keynote by Next Week," and I want to say it's 8 hours. I've been listening to it in the car, so it's broken up, but I've been really trying to go back to the basics from when I started because I did so much research on how to be a good speaker, how to get booked for gigs, and I hit the ground running so hard when I started that I know there's lessons that I need to relearn. Or now that I have this base knowledge
right,
and base experience,
right,
what can I go relearn and go, oh crap, I should have been doing that from the beginning. So I was listening to this talk, and it's Patricia Phipps and Darren LaCroix, and Darren LaCroix had won some, I want to say one of the Toastmasters. He's a world champion speaker. I think it was the Toastmasters championship that he won. And but it started in comedy. And so they're talking about certain things, and I don't even remember where I was going with that, other than that there just is always so much to learn. And like you're saying, like we're learning all this stuff, but now it's making me go, oh, what can I pull back in from this? And what can I pull back in from that? And now I'm going through and making sure I have a full list of all of my stories that I tell in all my speeches, or that I could potentially tell, because I have stories that I've not finished developing that, like, I at least need to go say it once at my Toastmaster meeting and practice that speech. And then I can check it off because I've at least written the story. And then when it comes up, I can figure out which of the stories on my list of 100 some stories that I use in my speeches, which am I going to pull into this next keynote. But I lost track of where I was going with that from what we were first talking about. So the point is gone.
I I know I've been going through my old notebooks and finding like jokes I started but never finished, and then
Hmm.
looking through my set list and going, is there anywhere I can plug this in?
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that. But then the hard part about that is if it's just a random line, it's remembering to stick it in there,
Yeah.
and if it's in
Yeah.
a bit that you've already been doing for a while. But
Well,
I
and
know it's
that's
fun to mix things up a little bit.
well, and I feel like you've been really good about knowing which jokes you've told in what rooms or which shows, at least lately. And I have not been good at that. And that's one of the things I've been looking at is, so with my speaking now, I put a column for every gig I've done, and I'm going back and re-listening to some of those. Some of them I kind of remember, but I'm re-listening to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I can put a check mark next to which stories I told in that keynote. So when that organization invites me back, I can
Right.
make sure I don't, reuse half of the
Mhm.
same stories, that it's mostly new. I'm not going to feel bad if there's one that I retell if it's important to the journey, but
I know. I'm excited for the disabled list tomorrow that I have a couple stories I haven't told there before. So it's like, oh, I
yeah.
got new stuff. Yeah, that's always nice.
And I feel like I need to start doing that on comedy because I reached out to Brandon about, hey, let me know when I can feature in one of your rooms. Because I've done Cole Street a lot, and I'm excited to show up with a lot of new material. And that was my challenge on the Dirty Show, was to pretty much do all new material. And
Mhm.
it threw me off for a minute because I got to a point where it's like, oh, I forgot what the next new thing I was going to do, and I should have quickly just gone into something that I already had. But that show is so fun because the way
That was a fun show.
it's disrupted anyway. I don't think that detracted from anything other than my own head.
Oh,
But my new stuff, like you said, people noticed how, like, damn,
yeah.
where'd that come from?
No,
So
that's a great feeling, though.
yeah,
I started something new.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I'm starting a new podcast called Diary of an Ex-Ho.
Yes.
I have my first episode has been recorded. Had Carol Freeman on. Um, I didn't think about this till we were actually actively in this, but I do have like a little teaser.
Oh,
But I'm just afraid that if I try to play it right now, it'll just be,
well,
uh,
you can
you
splice
know,
it into the edit.
I can splice it into the edit.
So
My thought is that probably in reality it's not nearly as hot and sexy as in my brain or watching it. And then you experience it and you're like, okay, never mind. Kind of like 69 when you're 12 or 14 and you're like, oh, that's gonna be so fun and hot. And you do it and you're just like, this is awkward and
Yeah,
uncomfortable and this
it
smells
is.
weird. And so I think that that's probably, it's a fantasy, but I don't know if it's gonna be all that I think it is.
that could be fun.
But it's getting a lot of attention. I don't know if it's just the picture on the cover or if it's the title or what, but it's
It's coming.
getting a lot of attention. So I'm really actually excited, and I've got some great ideas for
Yeah, when does the
upcoming
first,
episodes. Well,
or just whenever you get it ready in the next little bit?
whenever I get it ready, Kirk is writing me a theme song,
Oh, gotcha.
and I prefer to put it out with the theme song.
No, I have a tendency to get excited about something and then put things out before they're really dialed in the way I want, because of the excitement and enthusiasm. And I've been really practicing slowing that down and just being like,
Right.
okay, wait till it's right. Even, I'm not going to lose something in a week or even in a month by having it be out a little bit later.
Yeah, and I have a couple clips I pulled out of it so I can continue the teasers, for a little while.
I like that.
And I don't want to rush him to
Mhm.
do this for me. So I might get impatient enough that I'll just put some, cheap free music in an episode. I don't know. So we'll see. I kind
Oh,
of have a date in my head that I want it out by, but we'll see. So,
yeah.
but I'm very excited about it. I think we have some good topics, and I have some interesting people that are interested in doing it with me. So it'll be fun.
That's exciting. That'll be fun. It'll be fun to see who you talk to, where it goes each conversation, and it's always neat to see how things develop over time.
Right.
And I can't wait. And I think that first episode of you and Carol combo, that'll be
Yeah.
going to be some good energy there.
Well, it's funny because she showed up, she was at some podcast studio. And so it's all black around her. So it's just like you can see her microphone, and she's wearing like a camouflage shirt. So I was teasing her before we started that it looked like you know, like she was in it was a hostage situation.
That's funny. Carol, blink once if you're safe.
Yeah.
Blink twice if you need help. That's funny. I love that. Oh, so what's been the biggest have you had any big things you've learned this week? You said we're both learning so much all the time, or big lesson of the week.
Well, there's the things that I've been thinking about a lot. And there's one thing that I've decided that I'm going to do, because, you know, oftentimes my first instinct is to go to the negative and notice like who doesn't book me or who this or who that. And I thought, no, what I'm going to start doing is keeping track of people that encourage me.
I love that.
So, you know, like when people like something that's important to me or comment or, you know, share my stuff or something, like I'm just going to keep a little list of that will remind me, look at all these people who are supporting you.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to think about it. When I was surprised when I was redoing my website last summer. I think I might have shared this with you. Holly was the the person putting together my site for me, and she said, okay, well, do you have a list of like the endorsements or the reviews you've gotten? And I was like, I've got some on Amazon, I've got some on Facebook, some here.
Right.
And I hadn't really compiled it together, and I just put them all in an Excel spreadsheet, and it was, source, if it was a book, then what the book was, or if it was about a talk or whatever, who it was and where it was from. And some of them were the same because it's like, 4 of my friends might have given me a review on 4 things, but a lot of them were not. And when I added them up, I was like, holy crap, there's like 45 different positive comments. And just to see that was really powerful. And I think sometimes we forget that even someone saying something nice as a comment in our Facebook post, like, God, I saw you last night and it was so funny, or you're always hilarious, or whatever. Those are endorsements, and those are, like you said, those are those positive encouragements. And someone told me one time, and they told me this, I want to say 5 years ago, and I didn't do it until this year, where they said, anytime someone pays you a compliment, don't be afraid to say, thank you so much. Would you mind stating that in a review on my like LinkedIn profile? Or would you mind stating that in a review on my Google page? Because it's like, you're actually telling them how much you're valuing what they're saying for you and how much they can help you with just their words. And I still never reached out. And this year I just finally have started saying, hey, would you mind just filling out this review? And I've gotten a couple really good reviews that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't have asked. And it's not because they didn't like what I have done, but that's going to start to make a difference in the level of speaking gigs that I'm getting. And some of them have kind of like blown me away with the positivity. I'm just like, oh shit, like I didn't need you to say that much, but it's so nice. And someone that I met recently, they did that to me, and I had complimented them on a workshop that they gave when I was in Chicago, and they replied with, would you be a rock star for me and put that in, put your thoughts in a review on LinkedIn, and then just copy and paste that into Google on my Google page, and there were the 2 links right there, and I was like, I'm not bothered by them asking. I don't know why I would be bothered why I feel like I'm bothering someone by asking. So I was just like, thank you. And also I'm going to steal that exact wording that you just
Right.
and start sending that along. And I get, I could send it out and not everybody will right away. Or some people, I'll see them and they're like, oh, that happened this morning. Someone was like, I still owe you a review. And I'm like, it's fine. It's almost better when they trickle in, when it's not, within 1 week you get 50 reviews and people are like, well, clearly you were doing a push. And that can sometimes flag the internet too, that it makes them think they're fake if too many come in at a time. But so I love that you're doing that. And
yeah, and I'm just doing it for my own self and my own personal, just what's the word I'm trying to think of? Just my own gratification, my own
Well, when you read those comments, my friend Melissa would say, she's a neuroscientist, she would say, if you grab out that stack of thank you cards or the greetings or look at pictures from a fun memory, it's like you're releasing dopamine and it's actually lifting you up because you're re-experiencing that compliment just as if you got it for the first time as soon as you look at that.
Yeah, so dopamine me up.
Yep. Get all hyped up on the dope. So yeah, there's so much science behind it that I won't say I don't understand. I understand it, but I don't understand exactly what's at play enough to explain it to other people other than I know it's good. So
Yeah, I'm really trying not to engage with people's negative comments or negative, just people like, we all have our moments. Don't get me wrong. You and I complain to each other. I don't want to say often, but at least once a week we complain about something, but we do try to keep it positive.
Right. And I feel like there's one thing where you're releasing frustration in a way. It's like, God, this is the space I'm in right now. And you're not necessarily always saying, help me get through this, but essentially that's kind of what we're saying to each other is, I don't like this space.
But sometimes when people just want to like constantly talk negatively about other people,
right.
I don't know. It's not good for your soul. It's really not. So
No. And I thoroughly believe that you are you believe the words that you use and say, and you're gonna buy into them, and you're gonna stay in that headspace. So if you see the worst in people and that's all you think about and focus on, then you're just gonna keep seeing the worst in them instead of being like, what's this person may not be someone I ever want to see again, but what's one good quality they bring to the world? And maybe their good quality is that they're such a jerk that they make everybody aware of how not to be. Like it could be that the good thing that they're doing is their good work is just being an asshole, but being able to say, I value the asshole in you because that's actually rallying everybody else to my side of the table.
Do you know what time we started on this today?
It was about 3:15-ish, I would say.
Because I had no idea. I didn't look at the clock. I didn't, and nothing. I just got on.
I was working. I've had this thought about like a blog post or a talk or something along the lines of, and maybe I'll do it again if something comes up in the news about it, but it'd basically be why I love, or what I love about the Westboro Baptist Church. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're the ones that picket gay funerals and soldiers and stuff. And they're just mean-spirited about like, these people are going to hell and we're gonna make everyone's lives around them hell because we don't believe that person's good. And I thought, having someone like that in the world has raised so much support for groups that people wouldn't have stood up for, because there's things that we don't stand up for when they're not under attack, because we just like, I don't really care about that. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I may not even agree with it, but I'm not going to treat it like shit. But then when I see someone, going to such pains to create problems and throw people, just awful attacks, all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that, but you can't treat them like that. That's not human. And so it's like you actually, people like that are actually rallying such a cause against the thing that they are saying that they're for. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's that.
I got that nervous pre-show feeling, like I'm not like ready for diarrhea yet, but just that kind of
I'm not ready for diarrhea yet.
bubbling in the stomach feeling.
Right. So do you notice, and I guess I know part of this answer because we've talked about things like this before, but are there certain elements at play where that is worse for other shows than others, or is it just always a thing with the nerves?
It's always a thing a little bit, but like do a headlining set will give me more nerves because I can pull 15, 20 minutes out of my butt without even blinking.
Mm-hmm.
But the timing of the 45-minute set, not really like filling up all the time, but a lot of times I'll get to a certain point and then they'll go like, you have 10 minutes left. And I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's just the pacing of it that makes me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been like practicing all day, but I've been just like taking a chunk and timing it, taking another chunk and timing it, and haven't ran the whole 45. I've done a lot of 45s. It's not like
Right. Yeah.
I
It's
know
not
what I'm
like,
doing, but I do want to get to a place where I don't come to the end and realize, oh, I don't have enough time. You know, I just want to.
yeah, I get what you're saying. It's tricky too, because like, especially when you're pulling new pieces together, it's like, oh, I could do this same thing, and I know that this is a good 15 or 45 minutes or whatever length of time. And all of a sudden you go, wait, I'm doing this combination of stuff. Does that leave me a 6-minute gap? Or it's a 6-minute gap, but my filler material's 15 minutes or 10 minutes.
And to be honest, I'm on a show where there are like 4 to 6 other people before me.
Oh, yeah.
I know that there is a certain amount of fatigue that an audience gets being at a place for so long. So am I going to need to cut my set short in order to accommodate that so that we get out of there at a decent hour?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to juggle around, you know.
That was one of the things that came up on these CDs I'm listening to was before your event, ask the host or whoever's hired you, whoever's put the event on, is it more important to you that I do the time you hired me to do and do my full hour or 45 minutes, or is it more important to you that I keep your event on schedule? And I've had that thought as I was starting sometimes where I'm like, oh shit, do they want, like, I'm starting 5 minutes late. Are they going to be disappointed if I don't speak the whole hour? Or are they going to be like, don't go over, now you're putting us further behind, even though we were behind in the first place.
Right.
But actually having that conversation ahead of time, saying, you know, because you know, the crowd's not going to be in the right place. The person before me may go over, the bio break may take longer, whatever is happening. So I was like, oh, that needs to be one of my check boxes on my pre-event question list. So, and that's one of the things I'm really excited right now to be developing is more of a system leading up to the events. I'm really comfortable and feel great speaking and, you know, in the moment. And I've done some things the last few times that have been like, oh, this is, I'm going to do this before an event. I'm going to do that. And now really just taking all the practices that I've done and making sure that methodically it's like a notebook that I pull out and I'm like, okay, 8 weeks out, here's my checklist, you know, 4 weeks out, the day of, you know, here's the thing. So.
Yeah, well, there's lots to think about and lots to. I know that when I produce Odd Otter, I often tell the headliner, you know, you can do between, I usually say 30 and 45 minutes. I go, we try to be out of here by 9:15.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that, at their discretion, because
sometimes
I usually tell the people that are in the front part of the show, if things are going really well, then do your full time. But if it's not, don't worry about doing your full time. Like
end on a laugh.
If you need to bail, you know, don't keep going just because you feel like I have to finish my time. Like, no.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the worst thing to, like you said, that fatigue the audience can get. That's going to be worse if you've got 4 people in front of you who are, I'm going to do my time because I don't want to. I don't want to be, you know, bailing before the light and have people think that you didn't even do your 8 minutes.
Right.
But if you are just bringing down the mood for an extra 3 minutes, that's a long,
that's
long time of
3
people
minutes,
sitting there in silence, fuming, going, oh, get to the next person. Next, please.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that Dave and Andrew are coming with me just because we're going over the Narrows Bridge. So
Fun. Well, that'll be good. Well,
I
Andrew
don't
will
mind
love it.
driving back this way.
Oh,
It's
the new bridge
right.
is a whole different story.
It's not scary at all. The one going over there, though, just you get to a certain point, I got that driving phobia, and I get to that about maybe a third of the way across,
Mm-hmm.
and where you can really see the curvature of it and what's on the side of you, and I just feel my hands just start to sweat, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like kill us all, like accidentally, my hands are gonna slide up the steering wheel, and we're gonna plunge into the ocean,
Yes. And then you feel like, well, now that my palms are getting sweaty, that's going to be the thing that's going to make the steering wheel slippery. And now I'm
Yes,
creating
I
my
know.
own. Yeah, it's so much better since it's not two-way, but it still is not.
Oh, I just don't like it at all. I
Uh,
can do it, but I prefer not to. So,
and didn't you say that that is a thing that like so many people, you learned something recently, I can't remember what it was, that's like a huge thing, or that it doesn't go away, or
well, no, I talked to my therapist about how I had worked for years with a therapist about my driving phobia.
yeah,
And I said, I finally got to the point where I can drive over it. I go, I still don't like to,
right.
but I never overcame it. And he's like, are you kidding? That's like a phobia is really like almost impossible to overcome. So the fact that got yourself to the point where you could drive over it, like,
Right. Yeah, like that's
big deal.
huge,
So,
right? Yeah, exactly. So just I couldn't remember what it was, but I wanted to make sure we got that out there so you got
yeah.
credit. And so anybody else who might be, afraid of that bridge or whatever it is in your life, that just you dealing with it and facing it is huge. Doesn't,
I mean, it's not that huge because I'm making Dave drive over it, but I could drive over it if I had to.
right. If he couldn't go, you would like if
I would still
Dave ends up with crippling diarrhea tonight, you're still gonna go.
That's right.
I love it.
But speaking of crippling diarrhea,
It's time.
no, I was going to say when he was sick last week.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
I don't know, to any women out there whose husbands get really bad cases of man flu, just know that you have my sympathies.
I'm sorry, man. I know that I'm a little bitch when I'm sick. I don't know that I'm.
There's no way you're like him. He's the worst case I've ever in my life.
Well, I was
Love
gonna
him
say
dearly.
I'm home alone, so it's like just not affecting me.
Right. You can just be as much of a baby as you want. But yeah, so I'm glad that he's feeling better, let's just say.
Me too.
As soon as it's over, he's like perfectly fine and nice. And, it's taken me a few days to kind of get over it myself,
You're like, well, now I'm gonna be sick for a few
Now
days.
I've got the woman flu, right?
Yeah, the sick of you flu. Oh God.
All right. Well, I think I'm ready to go, so I can go.
Well, knock them dead tonight. Break a leg.
Yeah.
All
We're
the
gonna have
things.
time. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, friends.